Welcome to Photo Finds. I'm your host Kevin, and this week we've got something different for you. We're going to start here, which is this tree at the entrance to the Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh in Fantasyland, Magic Kingdom, and have a look inside. And we're going to go find something and then trace its history a little bit. So when we step inside, you're able to walk inside like these kids are and look around. And those of you who have already been here and know what I'm looking at can already identify it. It's right up here. Let's zoom in at another picture, shall we? And are you able to see something that looks kind of like a fish, maybe? This is, in fact, something that is a tribute. It's meant to be a symbol that honors the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride, which used to be here in Fantasyland at the Magic Kingdom. We need to go all the way back to 2003 to understand, and that's this picture from 2003, 2004, to understand what this tribute is all about. And so the area that we're looking at now is opposite the Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. And this was the lagoon where the submarines would board. This was their loading dock over here, and those were once waterfalls. That's the show element back there. And all of this has been taken over by New Fantasyland in various ways now. But let's circle around to the front here. This loading dock by 2004 had become something of a character greeting area. So you see that they had some tables lying around, and you could use it just to get out of the sun, for instance, and learn where the various characters were throughout the parks. And then shortly after that, they started draining the lagoon. And this is what the lagoon looked like after it drained out. I'll show you a couple of shots of that. Obviously, there was a track that the submarines would go on at 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Once it emptied out and they took away some of those show elements, you were left with kind of a bare pit here. And then you can see the show building leading off into the back. This is where the track had gone underneath the waterfalls. And then the tent areas that mark Mickey's Toontown Fair. Another view of that same area. This is the loading dock now been demolished. So as we tick on forward from 2004, you come to the newest change, which was in 2005. In that same loading dock area, they have now flattened the ground out, and they've put up a fence, and you can see a tree poking out over the top of that fence. There's another view of that. You already know where this is going. That's our tree. This is Pooh's playful spot, and eventually it opened up using a lot of recycled rubber, and it was a playground for little kids. Now, it was kind of a sparse playground. There was that slide you see over in the distance here, a couple of logs to crawl through, really. Not much else besides those and the tree, at least on this side. And that's what Piglet is doing in the tree in reference to Winnie the Pooh being across the way. So when they had here's the other side of that playground with a couple of honey pots to play in. This is really just a rubber ground, and then a little bridge, and then a little tiny water playground area there. And even though this is called Pooh's playful spot, there was also Pooh's thoughtful spot in the back. It's really just a couple of pots of decoration. Apart from the the initial playground equipment, the tree was the main draw. And so having the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea symbol inside the tree made sense. It was an homage that matched up perfectly with reality because we are on the spot here of where the loading dock had been for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. A couple of shots of what that area in the playful spot looked like in the evenings. You still had the water turned on there, as you can see. And there's Winnie the Pooh across the way, as seen early on in those days. Now what happened is they decided to change the queue for Winnie the Pooh, and they moved the tree across the way. They picked up the tree, it's an artificial tree, picked it up and moved it across the way and transplanted it in front of Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. And they redid the lines. You can see this is a temporary queue situation. They redid the lines while they were changing around the entire queue entrance. And once it was done, they included this Tigger's Bouncy Place, which you will see as a line for both grown-ups and kids play. And this is what they meant by grown-ups. Go around the outside, and kids are supposed to go in the middle here. Now, if you've not seen this before, I'm not too surprised. This is something that was built, and it opened up for one day. And on that one day, kids were able to bounce around on these little pads. And so these pads would sink down. There's a spring down below them. And if you jumped up, the spring would mean that you jumped up just a little bit faster. So it was probably deemed a little dangerous because it wasn't open beyond just that one day. and there's this little ball that references the Tigger thing as well as the spring here. And then they started blocking it off with these trees, and eventually it became a meet and greet area long after all of that. But I thought it would be an interesting way just to tell you the story of where that one little homage, that tribute in today's park comes from, and that's the 20,000 Leagues ride back when the tree was on the other side of the walkway and on the same spot as 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And so now you know, and there's nothing like knowing the whole story. That's going to do it for this week. We're not going to poke around the parks, but we thank you for paying attention, and we'll catch you next time. Let me know what you think in the comments about doing this kind of photo finds instead.